This week on Barbell Business, we talk about leaky funnel syndrome, and we have a great challenge for you to make big improvements in your business very quickly. Make sure you go over to barbellbusiness.com/lifecycle for that challenge. Welcome to Barbell Business. I'm Mike Bledsoe, standing here with Markus Gerszi and Jessica Webster. Today, we will be talking about the leaky funnel syndrome.
Oh, finally.
You may have heard about the leaky gut syndrome, and it is actually a really good analogy to what is happening in your business.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Jessica, why don't you start us off with your your beautiful variation on this quote today?
Sure. Well, how about we start with one of the experts on leaky gut? Can you tell me a little bit about how leaky gut works in like 2 sentences?
Leaky gut is a condition that people have that if they're eating the wrong foods or the foods that might not totally agree with their stomach, then what can happen is you can get little micro tears in the gut, in the lining, and what can happen is things that aren't supposed to get into the bloodstream get into the bloodstream, and things that should be getting digested and introduced to the body in a healthy way is not happening. So a lot of times the body's being introduced things that aren't good for it, and it's not getting enough of the positive nutrients that it does need.
Great. Thank you. That was a good lesson for me, too. I need to do some gut healing. Okay, so in one of our late night marketing chats and brainstorms, we found some cool similarities between a leaky gut and a leaky funnel. So in typical marketing terms, we're actually talking about leaky buckets, but in this sense, I think funnel works a little better, and I'll explain why in a bit. So in a lot of businesses, growth and retention are mutually exclusive. So you can spend a lot more time trying to get more members, get new customers, spend all of your effort there while the retention really suffers. And you can only do so much if you haven't automated your crank, the marketing crank, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So the first portion of the funnel right here is where you're focusing on lead generation, traffic generation, getting people into your gym. And we can see that as like adding more water. So you're going to focus a lot of your efforts on filling this funnel, but it really doesn't do much if you have a lot of leaks in that funnel. And the leaks can be completely missing out on a lead gen strategy or not worrying about a marketing lead nurturing strategy. So people can fall out, and people that you actually want in your business will fall out without you knowing. The similarity that we're finding with the leaky gut syndrome is that, that mesh that lines your intestine is supposed to let things into your bloodstream, let them out of your intestine. So with a great marketing strategy, you're going to bring people into your business, people that you really want to stay there, and the people that you don't necessarily want to stay there are people that won't be a great fit, will naturally flow out of this mesh of your system.
They'll be defecated out.
They will be pooped out. You will be the shit, and they will be pooped out. So, what we want to do is fix these tears in your marketing funnel. And the reason why this is a funnel instead of a bucket, and the reason why it was traditionally a bucket instead of a funnel is because marketers back in the day, they didn't really consider the idea that when you really delight somebody at the end of this bucket, they don't just stay there and become stagnant, stale water. They actually flow back out and send referrals back into the top of your funnel. Or this flow back into the top of the funnel could even be upsell opportunities and things like that. So basically, it's a funnel. You add more water through retention. You plug the leaks through automation, and the water flows naturally back into the top with an even better, you could even see this as a distilling system, because the people that come out of the bottom are your ultimate members. They're going to bring an even better quality of new leads to your top of the funnel here.
Yeah, over time it actually improves itself. So
right.
That's the marker of a good system or artificial intelligence.
Whoa.
If we can create a marketing funnel that is artificially intelligent, which we have, then that would be really, really cool. One thing I want to note before we go any further is if you're listening to this is the first time we're doing a video version of the Barbell Business show. So some of the things that Jessica is talking about. She's pointing at a blackboard, and you're going to be able to see really good examples of what's going on. I know that the visual component helps a lot of people. So if you're in your car listening to this right now, keep listening, come back, watch it a second time. This is going to be really good.
Yeah, we'll put it up on YouTube after the fact.
The YouTubes.
The tubes.
One thing I also love about really understanding your funnel and plugging these leaks is that it gives you a lot of peace in really understanding that marketing crank, right?
Yeah.
Like we all kind of remember where we were when we understood how marketing worked, and after that, it's like full-blown creativity. Now that you have sort of a guide, like this isn't a formula or an equation for success. It's just like some guidelines for you to express your creativity as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. When I talk to a lot of people, a lot of gym owners, and there's this understanding of marketing, and what I come to find is what most people think marketing is, and what I think marketing is very different things. And most of the time, we have definitions that vary greatly for just about everything. But what I like about having this conversation right now is we're defining what marketing is and how good marketing can be run. I think a lot of times people have a bad taste in their mouth around marketing because they actually haven't been exposed to like the good marketing, and the bad marketing strategies are the ones that tend to stick out in our minds. You know, the stuff that feels a little icky. So what we're talking about right now is how to make sure that you're only targeting people who are interested, and then when they do get into your marketing funnel, that they're actually enjoying the entire process. There should not be a point where they're feeling uncomfortable or anything like that. And that's one thing, Markus, I think that you do so well, and you put so much energy and effort and focus into every single step of the way, creating that customer experience that's extremely positive even before they become a customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes down to truly just understanding who you want to be perceived as a business in your marketplace. So really understanding who you are, and then understanding who you want your client to be. And when you really understand those two pieces, it makes it pretty clear on what kind of experience I want to craft for my client. And so when you now know who you're really dealing with and how the conversation you're trying to have with them, it's much easier to meet them where they actually are, rather than just kind of guessing or just kind of like piecing things together or things all acting independently. Because now you can say, okay, I know about where this person is at, right? Maybe a range of about where someone who would be a good fit for my gym may be in their life or in their fitness journey. So I'm going to try and create different tools and different opportunities for them to engage where they are. And I'm going to do it in a way to where they're going to understand what I'm saying to them. I'm not going to just say, well, I know this much about fitness, or I understand this much about what we're doing, and I'm just going to kind of make it difficult for you to have to learn my lingo. And instead, it's going to be, look, I'm going to see where you honestly are, because I honestly want to connect with you. You are the type of person I can really help. My service business is going to help you change your life and overcome these challenges and things that you've probably been struggling with a really long time. So I'm going to meet you where you are, and then we're going to have a natural conversation that makes sense for you and me. And we're just going to now guide this process into the business and helping you understand what we do, how we can actually help you. And it's just going to continue in. And it's an ongoing education process. And just really understanding that person and understanding who you are allows you to have a very natural conversation. Then it's just a matter of putting the right tools and systems in place to make sure it happens exactly the same time, or exactly the same way every time. Consistency is then key. Yeah. What's your ideal experience? How do I make sure that happens every single time? Starting from the very first touch point in those marketing conversations, into your sales process, into your onboarding, into your membership, and then years into membership on maintaining that conversation. Because like you said, it's actually a loop. It's not a bucket where once they're a member, cool, we're done, move back to the beginning of the funnel and start on some new people. That conversation keeps going. There's an ongoing education, and okay, so now I've kind of adapted to the group classes. What's next, right? And what else can I do with my fitness? And it's really just understanding where they're at, whether they're brand new or they've been with you for 4 years. How can you continue the conversation in a way that's going to actually be valuable to them and you? It has to be win-win.
Yeah, I think that a lot of times, I used to do this, which is compartmentalize pieces of the business. Or this is marketing, this is sales, this is my service. And it's like, it's just not the case. It's all one thing. Your service is marketing. Your marketing is the service. The marketing never ends. And in marketing, you are doing service, because if your marketing is good, you're giving them things that they can use and improve their lives before they pay you a dime. So, that's actually what we do here right now is we give people value. This is marketing. The podcast is a marketing tool. And so you could never buy a thing from us and you're going to get a lot of benefit from it. And people in your community should be the same way. If you're running a gym, a lot of people in your community could get a lot of benefit even if they don't join as a member. And that's a good thing. And you're going to capture the ones that you really want to have. But I really like the idea of thinking of all of it as a single system, and the marketing never ends, and the service, doesn't begin after the sale is made, after the exchange of money. Like, the service is happening all the time. That's what we're here for, is to provide that service.
Yep.
And that's something we're coining as member lifecycle marketing, and we're actually going to be having a member lifecycle marketing challenge, and we're going to have a commercial for that in between this. Oh, this is so fun! Our first commercial, yay! Super excited about that. Anyway, we're going to put something together for you guys. It's totally free, but this is super, super important for us, especially now that we've been having all these conversations with gym owners, like dozens and dozens a week, which has been really great, like little focus group style things. We're finding that this marketing crank, we're calling it marketing because, marketing is like this undefinable sort of thing that like every intersection between athlete and gym owner and like business and CrossFit brand, like that is marketing because it creates some sort of promotion as to what their next step should be. It's so important that it would be great for all of you to go through this exercise, and then we can move on. We can move past this and move on to things that like can really spark your creativity, and we can talk about the future of the athletic business and all that stuff.
And if you're just putting one of the things that we do on this show is we give away a lot of marketing tactics, and there's a lot of one-off things you can do to get more members in the door. And so I want to really, as we're looking at the funnel over here, think about how one tactic leads to another. And I was having this conversation with somebody the other day, is what's the difference between tactics and strategy? And strategy is looking at the entire funnel as a whole and seeing what you want to happen with the business. And tactics are the little how-tos on what to implement along the way. The majority of what we like to talk about is the tactical stuff because it's immediately something that you can put in place. And we're going to talk about that in the second half of this show, the things you can do immediately to start building your funnel. The funnel as a whole is a strategy, and that's where you're doing your strategy work. Now, how you're going to implement little things in your funnel, that's going to be a tactic. And once you start having that bigger view of how the entire system works, you're going to start, some of the things you might be tracking is how many people are coming in versus going out. The simple metric is how many people are going in, how many people are coming out, and then there's a lot of opportunities in between to see where people are being lost.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I think the secret in this, and this is, after, in the last 6 months, I think we've interviewed like almost 1,000 gym owners at this point, where we had an in-depth conversation about how are they running their business, everything from their marketing strategies to their sales strategies to their membership structures and all of these different aspects of their business to truly understand what people are doing and where people's understanding currently is of their business. And the most common breakthrough was when we would go through this exercise, when we would say, okay, let's pause. Let's talk about what you want as a business owner. What do you want for your business? So what does your vision look like for the business? Now pause. What does your vision look like for yourself within that business? Okay, so now that we understand those two things, now let's take a look at your ideal client and how we can make sure we can find where all three of those lenses intersect. Now we have a very clear sight on what the business needs to look like. And we can now zoom out of the business and just start at the very top and work our way through the entire life cycle and basically create a blueprint that you can then take and say, okay, this allows me to make educated business decisions to create a congruent experience for people all the way through for this particular type of client, for my particular vision for this business. And you can now make those little decisions and start using little tactics to say, okay, well, in this little part, how do I make that happen? And now you can start to become a creative business owner and be running your business like a business rather than kind of flailing around saying like, well, I know I'm supposed to be doing more sales and referral programs. Let's Google a referral program. What does that look like? That looks pretty cool. Let's put that in place. But nothing is in alignment. It's not in alignment with itself. So the different sections of the life cycle, and that entire thing is not in alignment with your plan for the business. So what happens is you end up building this business through these random tactics being glued together to basically get to this point to where you found some success where you've okay, we've got some members, but I need more, but I can't seem to grow past it. I keep bumping up against that glass ceiling. And what do? It's because you've built a business that you don't actually want to run, and that is not running the way that you want it to or need it to in order for you to continue to grow your business or for you to enjoy it.
Yeah, and a lot of things that got pieced together aren't being measured either because
Well, yeah.
because they don't all fit together. It's kind of hard to go to measure things. And like I was talking about before, is the first thing you can measure is how many people are coming in, how many people are going out. That's super easy to measure, and a lot of times is not being measured. And then if you do build that complete system and you're measuring along the way, that's the only way you can make choices. If you're making decisions about the business and you don't have a metric assigned to it, you're going off of, it's a shot in the dark. It's some people might be like, oh, it's intuitive or this or that, and I'm an intuitive person and I can make intuitive decisions. However, if I also have the metrics, we can be very, very precise and get make the changes, measure the result. I mean, it's just like fitness. You don't, you're measuring your back squat, you're measuring your Fran time, and you're looking for ways to improve it. You're tweaking things in your training. The same thing has to happen.
Oh my
in
God,
business.
yeah. Just like every body is different, not every program is going to be able to be replicated and have the same result. Every business is completely different. Even though your business model may be exactly the same as the guy down the street and you're in the same area, just the person that you are and the coaches that you are will result in something different, even if you copied him completely.
Absolutely.
Yep. Yeah, we've been drawing that parallel a lot in these conversations recently where I'm having to relate it back to training, and then all of a sudden the gym owner gets it. Like if your athlete does not have a specific goal, right, and you don't understand their specific place in their life and their lifestyle and where they are with their body and their movement and their nutrition and their lifestyle habits, you can't get them to where they need to be because you don't even know where they're trying to go. They don't really know where they're trying to go, but we're trying to get fitter and I want to look better, or I want to whatever, right? You don't know how to even do that. It's going to be, okay, well, let's do some squatting. I think that's going to help. And like, okay, now let's do some of this. And it's a lot of just kind of like hopscotching around. Like, yeah, I know I'm supposed to be doing these things, but I don't really know necessarily in what order, or is it really working? It seems like it's working. Like I'm a little bit better, but it's not part of one clearly defined vision. But if you can clearly define the vision and the path that you're trying to go, which is this idea of the blueprint and the funnel as a whole, right? The zoomed out version of your business, then you really don't know what you're doing. But when you can get clarity on that, like you said, now you can make educated decisions. Now you can say, cool, I know what this is supposed to be, where I'm trying to get someone. So now let me move them through this system.
Yeah.
So,
let's take a break real quick. When we come back, we're going to talk about exactly how to implement a funnel and the specifics there.
cool.
Our next Barbell Mastermind retreat is August 16th through 18th in Los Angeles. And I could tell you all about it, but instead I'm going to let one of our Mastermind members do it for me.
Sean Emery, Old City CrossFit. This was like the best, seriously, the best experience for my life, for my personal life, for my business, for the business relationships, for my personal relationships. This was just literally the best 3 days I've had in a long, long time. And coming into this thing, I had some expectations, pretty high expectations. They're talking about how important masterminds are and how important live events are and how they can transform your life. And so, the expectation, the bar was high, And then coming here, so I was expecting to meet expectations. All right, they set the bar really fucking high, really high. And if I just meet expectations, I'm going to be thrilled. And we blew past expectations with introductions, and just the insight I got to my life, the insight I got into my business, and the insight I got into where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are, and how relationships should work in the business, outside the business, and what the purpose of the business is, was just all put into such crystal clear perspective. And coming into this, I felt this rat race, I felt this struggle that I didn't even, I couldn't put my finger on. I just knew that something wasn't right about my business. We're making enough money to be pretty successful. We have a great staff, a great team. There's just something that didn't feel right. And just saw this opportunity and we're like, well, let's just check it out. Let's see what it's all about. And now I feel like this huge relief. This load has been taken off my chest, or off my shoulders, or whatever, and I feel like I have this plan to put the business, to put the reality of the business into where it is, where I have it mentally. I have this vision of what the business is and what the business should be, and it's never lined up with what it is. So like there's always been this disconnect, and it's been really frustrating because in my head, like I'm running this great thing, but in reality, it's just, creeping along. And so I feel like the brilliance of the mastermind is they help connect those two. Like everyone here that was, from the coaches to other participants was so insightful and so like true and honest, and everybody just wants to help. And it's the best thing I've ever done. Like seriously, like the best thing I've ever done. It's been great. And I feel like the biggest thing that I didn't know I needed was a coach, like a mentor. And it makes so much sense. You want to lose weight, you find a coach. Like you want to learn how to swim, like you find a coach, right? Like anything in life that you want to learn that has a coach with it, right? Like all growing up, you have like 1,000 coaches in your life, and then somehow as an adult, like you don't need a coach anymore. And I read all the books and I listened to all the podcasts and I knew all these things, but I didn't have a coach to like put it all together. And I feel like this mastermind just takes all of the chaos that's in your life, and a coach just kind of organizes it and just sets it out in front of you, and it's like, this is the plan. And you see how easy it is? And obviously executing the plan is going to be a lot of hard work, and there's the pain isn't over, but just knowing that there's a plan and knowing that I have a way forward is so incredible. And like every good coach gets the best out of the person that they're coaching. Like the best coach in the NBA is like takes, whatever, cut that, but but like the best coach takes somebody and makes them the best version of themselves. And this mastermind, I feel like just breaks us down and shows us like what our skills are, what our weaknesses are, what the flaws and inconsistencies are in your business plan, and then just helps you reshape it into what it needs to be based on you, not based on them, right? It's not a bunch of people sitting around like, oh, here's what I want your business to be. It's a bunch of people sitting around going like, oh, like here's what it sounds like your business should be, or here's what I'm seeing as your business, and just getting a fresh perspective, and with a ton of talented people that you respect the shit out of, like amazing people. And it's just incredible. Like you need a coach. Like you need a coach. Yeah, so it's just been awesome.
All right, welcome back. Nice intro. All right, so today we're talking about leaky funnel syndrome, and we're now going to talk to you about how we can actually understand how we can actually implement this in our business and get our business turned around.
There's a few different steps. Basically, the prescription for fixing leaky funnel syndrome is right here. First step is to remove. And the thing that we need to remove is the stories and misconceptions. Also often, what I find, and I experience this myself, is we have stories around sales and marketing specifically. We have stories around business, this or that. And an example of a story that I used to have around sales was that sales was grimy. The people who do sales are selfish, and they make people feel uncomfortable. And the reason I had that impression was because when I was younger, when I was early adulthood, I went to join a gym, and I had an experience with a slimy, gym salesperson. There was a lot of pressure involved. They brought out this contract that was, a 24-month agreement, and there was like almost no way out of it. And the amount of pressure that was applied, and they were just talking down to me the whole time, and they were using bad sales tactics, and it left me with a really bad impression. So when I walked out of that place, I had imprinted on my mind, it was like, man, I really got sold. And then I bought a used car from a used car salesman.
You're just setting yourself up for failure.
A similar thing, you go and you have this experience and you go, man, I really don't like going to car lots, and I would never sell I'm now uncomfortable selling cars too, because I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be that slimy person. I don't want people to think that I'm pressuring them. I don't want to make people feel bad. And people who do sales make people feel bad. And whether that's something you're consciously running or subconsciously running, it's more than likely running in the subconscious. Whenever I hear someone say, I'm not good at sales or marketing, we always discover that at some point in their life, they had that really negative experience, which they labeled sales and marketing. And so you have more than likely experienced really positive sales and marketing many, many times, probably 10 times more than you've experienced bad. The thing is usually with good sales and marketing, you're labeling that as good advice, and that's what good sales is. And good marketing is saying, hey, this might be a good fit for the thing that you need to enhance your life and make some improvements in your lifestyle.
It sold itself, right?
I would also add to that, another feeling that people will get when they experience good sales and marketing is that they themselves feel like a genius for buying that product. So it's on the company when the feel of the marketing and the messaging is shitty, but it's on them if they've purchased it and it's a great product and a great experience. They're like, I'm badass. I inserted myself into this.
And this is a really important thing to pay attention to, because this is all about language and labeling certain experiences, and then also has to do with identity. And so when you label something as a negative experience, then you never want to associate your identity with that experience. And so what I find is a lot of people who get into business, they don't want to do the sales and marketing part because they don't want to have the judgment from others. They don't want to associate their identity with being a salesman or a marketer because they have this negative connotation and they believe that other people do as well. Now, if that is the impression, that is the story you have in your mind, the ability to learn how to do positive and good sales and marketing is pretty much impossible. So you have to do the work, look back in your past, find out where you might have had an experience that was really negative around sales and marketing, and then recognize it for what it really was as a negative experience. It wasn't sales and marketing. It was a slimy way of doing it. And then think about the ways that it was done really, really well. And more than likely, if you start paying attention, being somebody who is good at sales and marketing myself, I recognize good in sales and marketing all the time now. And it's really, really pleasurable. And if you can remove that story, then you're going to be open to learning. But if you try to learn sales and marketing without dealing with that story, there's a lot of obstacles in your mind that you're going to have to overcome. So step one is help remove those stories.
Yeah, and the other side of that coin too is the just misconceptions about how to even successfully run a gym or how to successfully structure a sales and marketing like a campaign or process for your business. Because in our industry specifically, because it is so young and so many of the people who are in it are first-time business owners, and the kind of the state of the marketplace over the last decade, with it being so new and so easy for people to start and be successful, there's a lot of misunderstandings as to like what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong, because it's kind of been the blind leading the blind. It's not like someone like started the first CrossFit gym and was like, I nailed the model, and everyone just started copying them and just creating new variations of this really awesome model. It's that no one really had a great model. It was just the product was so good and the market was so new that it just worked. And so people got away with murder in regards to their sales and marketing and their client experience processes overall. And so it eventually became a game of the blind leading the blind. And so you have bad examples being followed everywhere, and people are like, yeah, but that's what everybody does, and that's how it's always worked, and I've never had to spend a dime on marketing, et cetera, et cetera. And it's created all these false stories and misconceptions about what success and doing it right actually looks like. And it's painted a lot of people into a corner because their product was good enough to get them into that position, and it's confirmed the stories to them. And so now they have to unlearn those stories and kind of convince themselves is the challenge, but it is a key in actually fixing the problem.
Yeah, we as humans tend to stay attached to history. Oh, this was working yesterday, so
it defines us, right?
This is the way it worked yesterday. This is the way it'll work today. This is the way it'll work tomorrow. Yep. The turkey thinks that every day is going to be beautiful until it's Thanksgiving, and so it's the same thing.
Are you calling me a turkey?
There's actually a really good book called Black Swan by Taleb Nassim. No, it's the other way around.
Nassim Taleb.
but he talks about that's the example. Is the
Have another fitted, please.
is the turkey? Yeah, the turkey does. He thinks every day is great until it's Thanksgiving, and then it's a complete surprise. And so I think the same thing's happening here. Is historically everything's been going well, and then all of a sudden things aren't going as well, and you're like. It's like, well, I just got to keep doing the thing that used to work.
I just got to
And
push
so
harder.
You're adding more water to the funnel. The tears are getting bigger and bigger. You're adding more and more of that food that you used to be able to eat when you were younger, and now you're experiencing weight gain, stress, migraines, which, by the way, are leaky gut and leaky funnel. So if you're experiencing any of those, check both of those things out. Either draxe.com or barbellbusiness.com. But yeah, simply adding more water doesn't work anymore. Everything is evolving. To think that our business isn't evolving is crazy.
Yeah, and another misconception is around the guy down the street or the girl down the street is doing it like this, so I can't do it differently. Because, if I stray too far from that, and one of the things I think people focus on the most is pricing. And pricing is a marketing strategy. It's not anything else. So you do have to confirm it with your financials and make sure you're charging enough for sure. But marketing decisions are usually a marketing decision. And so what I find is a lot of people are doing just kind of copying. Oh, what are they doing in there? It's like,
I'll be a little bit more. I'll be a little bit less, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and you're copying somebody else who also doesn't know what they're doing.
Yep, they totally ballparked it. Their numbers could be a mess, and yet you're banking your business in success, and why you can't pay your staff or market or buy new barbells or whatever it is, or pay yourself a salary based on those numbers, right? When really it should be evaluated much deeper. That's a whole other conversation.
Exactly. So we can after we remove some of these stories, misconceptions, the next step is to replace, and that is with a new story, a new truth, and understanding around what sales and marketing is, and that's where Markus is going to take it away and show us a little bit about the funnel.
Yeah, so we break it down into a few key sections. Starting at the very top, we have lead generation. Then we want to nurture those leads. Then we have, and we're nurturing them to an intro offer. That intro offer needs to be converted. And once that person is converted, we need to wow them. And the output of the wow is going to be one of two things, in which we're going to either get referrals of them sending friends and family back into the top of the funnel as new leads, or it's going to be an upsell, in which case it's the same general process, but it's just repeating the cycle with someone who's already a customer to elevate them to the next step of being a customer, right? So going from maybe a standard group membership to a more premium membership, so we can extend the life cycle and the value, not just monetarily, but again, it's a win-win for everybody. So it's getting them better training, more training, refining their goals and that whole deal. But the idea here is that it is then the cycle. So now that we understand kind of the overall architecture of what it should look like.
And what you're talking about is improving both the quality and the quantity. If you're upselling someone who's already a customer, you're going to give them opportunities to improve, increase the amount of value they're getting from your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's not just, and it's not a volume game. It's not just let's get as many referrals as we can. It's about, you got to find the balance of what your goal is. And again, that's part of the next section here under repair and clarifying that vision. But it's about the maximum quality per member, so that we can make sure that we're not just keeping them happy and keeping them around a really long time because they're having a great time, but then it's also more monetarily valuable to you as the business, which is then going to let you get more out of instead of having to go for overall volume of membership, right? So, all right, so I'm going to give you guys a quick little example here, kind of in what I see between a healthy funnel or member life cycle and an unhealthy one. So notice $, no dollar signs. Okay, so for the, I'll start with the unhealthy one. So this is what I see probably 9 times out of 10 when I talk to a gym owner. So right here on the left, going from the top to the bottom, these would be considered different member lifecycle strategies. Okay, so I've got listed 1 down infinite, right? So there's an infinite different amount of combinations, and this is what your vision is for the business and for your members. Okay, this is where those lenses intersect, like we were talking about in the first section. So what I most commonly see is, and we have up top here, we have lead gen, nurture. So these are just the stages of the funnel from here, laid out across here from left to right. So someone starts and they say, okay, for lead generation, I'm going to do this strategy. Okay, this seems really cool. I heard about it on a Barbell Business podcast. I'm going to start doing this for lead generation. Then to nurture those leads, what do? I'm going to Google it. I'm going to use this strategy over here to actually nurture the leads in. Then for my intro offer, the guy down the street does this, so I got to make sure I'm doing the same thing, so I'm staying competitive. I'm just going to do it better than he does. And then to actually convert them, I don't really know anything about sales, so I'm going to Google a strategy, and that one's going to be this different strategy over here. And then wow, and so on, right? So we're just kind of cobbling together this different combination of strategies. So if I connect the dots, we kind of are all over the place, right? One thing does not naturally lead to the next. So it creates those friction points or those gaps between a member going from one thing to the next. This is not ideal because you're creating a lot of unnecessary work for your person at all different stages, right? So whether they're new, this means you're going to have less people actually coming through on those going from potential client to client, and then people sticking around. That means people are going to be leaving, or they're going to be dropping off because they don't really know what's next, leading to indifference, etc.
And even if the person does make it through this, it was much more difficult than necessary.
It took way too much work. And this does not create a wow experience, right? So this is where you have those members who are like, yeah, I've been here for a while. The business is kind of shitty, but they're great trainers and the programming's awesome. That the community's great. That's what's keeping them. That is not a good position to be in as a business owner, right? So now let's talk about our ideal scenario. So what we would do instead is we want to clarify what our vision is, like we talked about before, and say, okay, well, who am I as a business owner? What are my goals? What are my goals for the business? And what kind of clients do I want to serve? And let's clarify that strategy top to bottom, because once we know what that looks like, we know what we need to do. So now we're going to say, okay, I'm going to choose, let's just say strategy number 4 right here. This is me, okay? 4, that's me. So that means I now very clearly know what I need to do in all different stages, and one naturally flows to the next. And notice how nice and smooth and short the gaps are in the example, because this is the most efficient path. Every step is the next logical step because it makes sense. You can now manage people's expectations and slightly exceed them at each one of these steps, which is going to make it really easy for someone to just continue on. And this is that whole idea of things kind of selling themselves and people being like, man, this is just freaking awesome. I showed up and the session was awesome, and the way they presented it with my goals, and everything naturally flows. This is what we're shooting for, not this all over the place. And this is what I see everywhere, because people just kind of cobble the business together from when they initially start and have no understanding, which is cool. Oftentimes it starts like this.
Well, that's how we all started
Right.
business. We started business, and and then it's the experience that has
the refinement,
opened our eyes.
right? So when you have that clarity, once you now have understood, right, and this is the order here we're following. Now you have the understanding. Now you can map this out, and it becomes very clear to you as what you need to do to facilitate your ideal experience, which you've chosen and defined, and now you can implement, right? Mm-hmm. So there's the example. Those of you who are just listening, audio only, make sure you check out the video, because we mapped it on this beautiful professional graph right here on the wall. So which takes us to step 4. So now that we've clarified what the vision is and we know what our strategy is going to be, now it's about rebalance, in which case we want to take this system that we have built, and we want to make sure we can make it better using different tools for automation, for making our life easier, because what we need to do is make sure that this defined strategy happens every single time. This is what has to happen so that I can now measure and manage my business. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in place for a while in a way that I can measure each different step along the way. And then I'm going to keep revisiting it and refining it until I have it as good as I want it to be and I'm satisfied with that. And then now you can then start working on other pillars. So the strategy that we use with our clients is, let's focus on this first. People usually come in and they're like, okay, great. We're building our new, logic site and system and all that sort of thing. And they're immediately already thinking about, well, what are we going to do for this lead gen strategy? I'm going to open a boot camp. I'm going to do this event. They're all over the place before this has been mastered. Let's put this in place. Let's do it in a measurable and manageable way. And let's rinse and repeat a couple of times to make sure we can fine tune it, really make sure it's firing on all cylinders. And then now you have a healthy core of the business. And now you can start adding in the kind of auxiliary little programs or, workshops, or we're going to do this over here with the schools or whatever it might be. Now you can add that and feed that into a healthy system. Again, that's measurable and manageable.
Markus, when you're talking to a gym owner, how do you get them to clarify their vision?
Well, it depends. So we have initially when people come through, we go through those exercises using those modules that we created, where we go through kind of just the visioning exercise and regarding what do you want for yourself? So 5-year, 3-year, 1 year, what are your financial goals? What do you want your every single day to look like? So the perfect day exercise, and really getting clarity for them what it looks like. And then it's the same thing for the business. Okay, now what do you want the business to look like based on that reality? Because now they know what I need to make in order to live the kind of life and have the kind of time with my family. Or maybe it's, hey, I want to spend all the time on the floor with athletes. This is what I do. Great. So let's make sure that we can build the business accordingly and get everything into alignment with your business and your goals. And then now it's very clear to say, okay, now what kind of clients do we want to serve? Who can we service best with what we bring to the table? And let's now build accordingly.
What we're really talking about is sustainability, because if you don't do this at some point, if you're doing this and you never get the clear vision and you never build a system to support that vision, it's gonna feel like a lot of work.
It is a lot of work
without a lot of reward.
And that is precisely why almost all the gym owners that we get on the phone these days are either already burning out or they're starting to see the burnout coming, because they're insisting or have been insisting for whether it's 1 or 8 years now that this is good enough or this is the working model, but they're starting to get tired, right? Because it's not as efficient. It's not something that they can step out of. They can't take a vacation, or if they are making it work, it requires so much effort that it's just wearing them out, or it's wearing the staff out, and it's just causing overall burnout. This is not a sustainable approach when nothing is connecting naturally to the next. But what is sustainable is putting something in place that we can then make efficient, we can measure it, we can improve it, we can fine tune it, and it works. So that it's that the whole idea of the leaky funnel, we're not just trying to pour more water in, which is, most gym owners are getting on the phone now saying, well, how do I get more leads? I just need more leads. I need to add more members. It's like, you're trying to pour people into a shitty system. And all that's going to do is going to require you, like you said, those tears are just going to keep getting bigger. And it's going to require you to keep putting more in until you can't handle the load anymore. And then the wheels come off. Right. And so instead it's like, pause for a second. Let's make sure that we can use little tactics and strategies to help generate some revenue just in your pricing structure and your intro offers to help get some cash flow going for you right away. But the moral of the story is focus on the core first, get that right, and then we can start pouring leads in way more efficiently. Now we're not just burning cash on Facebook ads because we have a shitty process that doesn't really work well anyway, and you're just having to spend more while people are just flowing out the back door, but you're adding classes, adding coaches. Your base is going up to help service the volume, but you don't actually have now the sustainability to maintain it. So you have to keep pouring more in the top, and that's that whole burnout.
That's the hustle.
Formula. That's
another piece of the hustle is the misconception that now you can do everything on your own. So if you guys want to understand a little better how all of these pieces of the funnel go together and how they work, that's where the challenge comes in, which we'll give you a link at the end of the show. But thinking that you can do all of this on your own and clarifying your vision and building it, you're missing the piece of replace, where understanding like where your unique genius lies, and understanding that when it is time for you to build, you built your gym, that's great. Now building the systems that will allow you to rebalance, you can do it yourself there's an entire spectrum of DIY. Like you can build your own software, or you can take a step beyond that and like do Infusionsoft and build out systems on your own that way using someone else's software. Or you can utilize digital enablement companies like ourselves with Barbell Logic, where we've utilized Infusionsoft and we've put in the content and we do it for you. Or you can buy an entire business that's already been built completely. So there's an entire scale of like DIY or done for you that you can basically like go through these same steps no matter where you are on the scale of how much you want to work.
Yeah, I find that people who are newer to business tend to want to DIY everything. I mean, I remember building my first pull-up bars by myself. And then after being in business for 4 years, I'm like, I'm going to, you know what? RogueFitness.com. I'm buying that rig. It just makes sense.
They're a little better at this than I am.
It's like, you know what? And the same thing with the website and, email sequences and marketing. It's, I think it's good to give it a shot yourself first, just to understand it and
get the ball rolling, right?
And
minimum viable product, get it up and running. But there's that point you hit when you're like, okay, I'm tired of screwing around. I don't have the time or the energy to waste anymore. I want to go pro. And I want to hire someone who's better than me. Think of your athletes. It's the same thing. They've been fumbling around in a Globo gym for the last who knows how many years. And then finally they're like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to pay for a real membership where I have a coach who's going to guide me, whether that's when they're first getting into your CrossFit group programs, or it's someone who says, okay, I'm going to hire a personal coach for one-on-one training, personal training, whatever. But there's that point where you say, okay, I'm just going to hire someone who does this, eats, sleeps, and breathes this every day.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely. Yeah, and then every time I don't know anyone who makes that move that doesn't wish they just didn't do it sooner. It's just like, I wish I would have hired that coach sooner. I wish it, who doesn't say that?
Yep.
So.
So that said, the idea of this whole challenge is to give you that clarity and that understanding and actually have you build this entire thing out for your business. And we've got some pretty cool little exercises we'll put you through to where by the time you're done with this challenge, so in less than a week, you'll have your entire basically blueprint for your business laid out with your own member lifecycle strategy that you can then take and implement in your business, and you can then again, at very least, have clarity and start adjusting things and building and putting systems in place and kind of take it from there.
Excellent. If you want to participate in the challenge, go to barbellbusiness.com/lifecycle. And if you have any questions, hit us up on Twitter. #NoLeakyBox.
You guys.
Hey, you can go ahead and cross out that HR complaints thing back. It's set back to 0.
Oh, man. That
0 hours. No, yeah, so check that out, and we'll see you next time.
Mm-hmm.